Welcome to Stakeholder-Centered Coaching, where we believe everyone deserves a stakeholder-centered leader. Today, we're talking about one of the very first coaching skills you'll apply during an initial meeting with the client. We're talking about assessing coachability. A few years ago, we were given what Marshall Goldsmith calls the most important lesson for coaches, and that is client selection. He goes on to say, pick the wrong clients and you'll lose every time. But pick the right ones, and you can almost never fail. The truth is that the outcomes of coaching are far more determined by the leader's commitment to change than by the wisdom of the coach. The problem is that we're generally not taught the ins and outs of identifying who are the right clients. As a result, most of us have had to learn the hard way by outworking our clients or by burning ourselves out trying to help someone who probably has all intentions of staying right where they are. So today, I want to give you a systematic and repeatable way to assess a leader's coachability, no matter what your coaching methodology happens to be. Here are 10 questions you can use. The first question seeks to gauge their openness to receiving and actioning feedback. And that is, are you open to receiving feedback even when it is challenging to hear? What you want to hear in it is a response that affirms that feedback is a valuable tool for uncovering blind spots and for highlighting high-value areas to change. You can go even further as a professional service provider by asking for feed forward as a coach on how to solicit the best response from the client when providing feedback. The next question solicits demonstrable evidence of a time when feedback led to a meaningful change. The question is, can you provide an example of a time when you acted on constructive criticism? Use exploratory questions to fully understand how they initially reacted to the feedback, the steps they took to thoughtfully consider it, and what they did about the feedback and the outcomes or improvements they made as a result. The third question is designed to learn about the client's resilience to adversity and their ability to learn from the friction of failure. How do you handle setbacks or failure? A good answer is one that acknowledges and accepts the necessity of failure in the growth process, the ability to learn from and move beyond the failure, as well as the willingness to seek out help when needed. Remember, it's not failure that defines an individual. It's how they respond to it. The fourth question centers on the client's motivations for seeking a coach and what precisely they want to achieve through the relationship. Ask, what are your main goals for seeking coaching, and why are they important to you? Really look for the why in their answer. In their mind, what is the purpose of coaching? Are there motivations that are primarily performance-based, or are there personal drivers for change? Take special note of these answers because they can become levers or leverage points in the engagement. This fifth question sets the groundwork for behavioral experimentation by asking, are you willing to experiment with new behaviors or approaches to leadership? Seek to validate their openness to new experiences, as well as their courage, humility, and discipline. They should demonstrate the courage to tell people what they're going to do, the humility to admit that there's even room for improvement, and the discipline to follow through on their plans. And if you want to learn more about these prerequisites for effective coaching engagements, check out our free training program at mgscc.net/free coach training. The sixth question asks about their individual predisposition towards discipline, as well as the speed in turning learning into action. How do you plan to integrate and apply what you learn in coaching to your daily work? A great answer might sound like this. I plan to integrate what I've learned by setting aside time each morning to review my goals and the behaviors I've committed to. I'll measure success by tracking specific actions I take and the outcomes that I and others notice as a result. The seventh question gets right to the heart of humility by asking, can you describe a situation where you had to admit you were wrong? How did you handle this? Now, what follows ought to be a fairly clear description of a situation where they were definitively wrong and steps that they took to both publicly acknowledge the mistake and the actions they took to make things right. Don't be fooled, however, by someone who dismisses the question by saying, "Oh, I simply don't dwell on my mistakes." While this may be true, it is certainly not an excuse to not learn from them. The eighth question asks about the role of accountability. What does accountability mean to you in the context of coaching? In my opinion, the best answer would link to the desired outcomes they intend to achieve. You may also expect to hear aspects of personal responsibility, the role of feedback and measurement, or the view that accountability is part of a larger support structure within which coaching resides. In any case, be sure you have a brief discussion on how the coach can optimally provide accountability during the engagement. The ninth question looks into the leader's prioritization of self-improvement in the midst of their presumably hectic schedule. How do you prioritize your development amidst other responsibilities? Again, the best answer is one that affirms the enduring value of self-improvement. And ideally, it's going to highlight procedural mechanisms that facilitate time-efficient growth, such as setting clear goals, allocating time and focus for their behavior, and consistently measuring progress both through a daily checklist and through the mini-survey, which measures changes in perceived leadership effectiveness. This final question invites the leader to reflect on their day-to-day leadership routine. Are you prepared to make coaching a regular part of your routine? This is an important question because any coaching methodology worth its salt will not only make the client a more effective leader, it will also make them a more effective coach to their team. Their response should both align with the requirements for effective leadership and acknowledge the need for applying coaching skills that they experience in real time back to their team. This is a key value of stakeholder-centered coaching, which concludes with both measurable changes in leadership effectiveness, as well as what we call leader as coach, where the leader has become fully equipped to apply the same coaching methodology to their direct reports. There you have it, 10 systematic questions you can use to assess coachability and move forward with the confidence that you're working with the right leaders every time. This is one of many high-impact techniques taught in our award-winning coach training program. To learn more about our free training programs, visit mgscc.net/free coach training or visit mgscc.net/certification for our certification programs.